Hey guys, Andy here from Mediocre Hobbies, coming at you with some cool new miniatures on the scene. We have of course gotten an early copy of the Kill Team Termination box set, which of course contains the Leagues of Votann Kill Team and the new Blood Brothers, which are basically Genestealer Cult, but instead of them being based around miners, they are based around traitor guardsmen, or I don't know, infected guardsmen, if you will. Now, this is not a new concept. When Genestealer Cult got re-released a number of years ago, there was indeed an upgrade sprue which allowed you to convert some of the old school Cadian shock troops into Genestealer Cult soldiers. But with the next edition, they kind of stripped all that out. You used to have access to all of the Imperial Guard units and added them into the Genestealer Cult. They kind of got rid of all that, which I thought was really bad, because when I wanted to basically do a Genestealer Cult army, I did want to base it around the concept of about infected guardsman regiment or unit or something, a planetary defense force, something along those lines. But it does look like that concept is coming back, and that makes me very, very happy. So what I'm going to do in today's video is I am going to paint up one of the new Blood Brother Cadians, well, one of the new Blood Brother Genestealer Cult miniatures as a traitor Cadian. So I'm going to paint it in Cadian fatigue, then I'm going to give him that sickly purple skin that you would get from a Genestealer Cult member. I also have ideas of adding in the iconography for the Cadians on their shoulder pads, and then just having big red X's cut through them, just to kind of insinuate that it would annoy a guardsman who fought against them. I think these guys are quite clever and they don't do anything by accident, so I'd imagine Cadians are going to fight really fiercely to try and cut these guys down. And it's like a smirch on their honor, if you will. If you're excited to see this, then stick around and enjoy this video. Before I get into it, I just want to say a huge thank you to my patrons. I know I do it at the start of every video, but it does mean a lot to me, and it does mean that I'm able to continue doing what I am doing. If you guys want to help me and support this channel, it is linked down in the description below. Access to a private Discord server and access to an extra vlog style video every single day are just two of the awesome benefits of getting involved. So if that sounds like something that interests you, you want to see me grow bigger and bolder, check it out. Okay, without further ado, let's get this guardsman painted. Okay, and this is the model that I have chosen from today's video. It will be, obviously, it's a Cadian trooper, which has succumbed to the parasitical infection of the Tyranids and become a member of the Genestealer Cult. And this one is a icon bearer, so he carries the symbol of the four-armed emperor into battle, leading his host of turncoats and traitors. I don't know if they're traitors, they didn't really have a say in the matter, but, you know. But anyway, this video will be very similar to the Cadian shock trooper that I did, because basically what I'm doing is this guy as a turncoat Cadian shock trooper. So if you've seen that video, you're going to be seeing a few things that are the same, but obviously we're going to do the icon bear, and the most important thing is the kind of purple hued skin, which will make him look like that sickly Tyranid organism. So obviously we did the Agros Dunes for all his fatigues. Then we jump over to Creed Khaki for Creed. Why have I forgotten what Creed it is? It's Creed Camo. I knew I didn't even have to look at there. Creed Camo for all of the armor panels. For his flak armor, shoulder pads, knee pads. If he had a helmet, some of them do have helmets, it would be the helmets as well. And if they carried any sort of weaponry that was previously guard owned, I like to do the casings of those weapons in that same green color as well. So if you're following along with my guide and having it be a turncoat Cadian, then you want to do that. I do like the icon. It's a really nice piece. As soon as I saw the box and I saw which 10 guys it was, I knew I was definitely going to be painting the icon bear. The sergeant was a close second. He's very cool as well with his gnarled Genestealer arm. Pretty cool. Black Templar is used for a very small amount, which is his boots, but he's wearing gaiters, which is the protective leather coverings to protect like the soldier's ankles and stuff in combat. Therefore, it's just a little bit of the front of his boot and a little bit of the heel of his boot, and the rest is kind of covered up. If he had some las guns on him or anything like that, potentially you could be doing the stocks and the muzzle brakes in black as well, like I did with my original Cadian Shock Trooper video. After that, I did forget to show the paint. I do apologize for this, but I'm currently using Wildwood, and Wildwood is the dark brown of choice that I do for pretty much all the leathers from here on out. So the gaiters, all the webbing, his backpack apart from the top, which was obviously done in the Agros Dunes, but the straps holding his bedroll on, you know, his braces, everything like that, all the pouches are going to be done in this. Now, if you notice his staff or his icon, it does have a wrap around the handle. It's kind of hard to tell with the color of the spray. And I was supposed to do that in Agros Dunes. When I went back, it was painted to be kind of like the accent color of the army. So that will just suddenly be Agros Dunes at one point later on in the model. So just remember that if you're following along. Guilliman Flesh is the first color that I'm going to use for the skin. Like I said, the skin is going to be the bit that obviously differentiates this guy from a standard Cadian trooper. And when it's a guy just holding a lasgun or a meltagun or something and he has a helmet on, the skin really does have to be a slightly different hue, or it will just look like an Imperial Guard soldier or an Astro Militarum soldier. Depending on how long you've been in the hobby, one of those two names will work. And I will show you what I mean a little bit further on. So now we're going to go into some of the other base coats. We're going to go for a Lead Belcher. So obviously the staff, which holds up the banner pole, or the banner pole itself. And then most of the ring at the top of the banner, except for the actual symbol. We're going to do the symbol in gold. His blade will be silver. And there's a couple of standard Cadian pieces. The skull in the center of his belt buckle. There's a spoon on his backpack because he's a soldier, and soldiers have all sorts of gubbins hanging off their webbing and stuff for ease of use. So he's got a spoon, so make sure you get that with silver as well. Retributor Armor Gold was used for the very bottom of the icon. And then, of course, like I was saying, the symbol of the Four-Armed Emperor, or the Tyranid symbol in the top. That is one of the interesting things about Genestealer Cult and how they managed to hide in society for so long. First of all, they like to infiltrate some fairly important people so they can do their kind of malicious things, but also they praise the Emperor. Now it's the Four-Armed Emperor, but when they go around praising the Emperor, no one really bats an eyelid, and they can kind of get away with their worship for longer than they should. Seraphim Sepia is the color that I went for shading the entire miniature down. This is because it's exactly the same shade that I used for shading my Cadians. It works beautifully over the brown, green, and tan colors. It doesn't do a bad job over the silver and gold either. And it's perfectly fine over the skin. So once it's dried, we obviously did the base coat to match all my Imperial Guard stuff, my standard kind of green or brown base coat. Now it's time to layer up. Now with the Cadians, previous ones, it wasn't Morghast Bone that I used. I think it was Xandri Dust or maybe something brighter. But Morghast Bone is something that I'm leaning on a little bit heavier these days. I think it's a little bit closer to the tan color scheme, or the khaki color scheme that these fatigues are supposed to be. So I'm going to move a little bit of a shift over and use this. It's a great color. You're not looking for a solid, really clean coat. This is fabric. It's supposed to be a little bit streaky and a little bit rough. And all you want to do is follow all of the folds and creases of the model, leaving all that dark shaded area in those recesses, and then just hitting this color on the raised parts. Once that's done, we are going to have a nice, kind of the fatigue bit is going to look nice and clean. And from here, we're going to go into Wa Flesh, which is the color that I like to highlight or layer up the Cadian armor with. I did have an idea that perhaps I would get some purple shade or something and like paint it into the recesses, or have it like dribbling down to indicate that there's more like horrible Tyranid growths going on underneath his armor, and it's starting to like seep through, which would be really gross. I just don't think the eye would catch it too well on a model that's this small. So I decided not to bother with it, but it's maybe something that I play around with in the future. See if it makes a difference. I am very curious to know if we will be able to take more Imperial Guard stuff in the Genestealer Cult book moving forward. I would very much like the idea of having the, you know, Genestealer Cult Sentinels and Chimeras and Leman Russ and all that kind of stuff, and do a full traitor force like that. I think it would be absolutely incredible. As you can see, we're going on to the highlight stage of the silver now, or the brown, sorry. We're using Cadian Flesh for that, and highlighting all the straps and webbing and pouches, including his backpack and his gaiters. The model is really starting to come to life now. Once you start tidying up those few extra bits with the layering stage, it starts to look really swish. I love it. Lead Belcher was then brought in to highlight all the metallics, all the silver, all the gold. Simple step, works a treat. Normally on models, we would then leave it at this stage. It is just, you know, it's an iron bar that these guys use to make a banner from. But I had an idea later on, and I will show it to you when we get to the highlighting and layering the skin phase, which I added to the gold just to, once again, pull it more towards that kind of Tyranid-y style. It's really subtle, but it should work well. As you can see, I'm still using the Lead Belcher to highlight the metallics. I don't know why my camera likes to focus on just about anything other than the miniature whilst doing this video. I do apologize for the few moments where this is out of focus. I don't know what it is. Maybe there's not enough substance in such a small miniature that it wants to focus on the grid pattern behind it or whatever. So we jumped up to the mid-tone now, which is the Cadian Flesh. And as you can see, I'm highlighting all of the skin, taking my time, being careful. Obviously, there's a lot of different shapes and lots of different variations to The face that we're going to be doing, just make sure you hit, like, usually I would just say, you know, nose, chin, cheekbones, eyebrow, but he's obviously got ridges going up his forehead. You want to highlight those as well. And then obviously light highlights throughout the bald dome of his head. But then after that, to push it into that more alien thing, we're going to have a glaze of Mago's Purple. So I didn't particularly add water or anything to it. I just used the Mago's Purple from my wet palette, which obviously diluted a little bit. And I glazed over the skin to give it a purpley hue. While I was doing that, I also applied this same purpley hue to the gold on the icon. And that's the bit I was talking about earlier. It's going to add that little bit of a purple tinge to it, which once again is going to pull it more towards that kind of alien-esque style, or more towards the kind of Tyranid symbology. Trick your eyes a little bit. And purple obviously works really good over gold, so it's not going to make it look weird or anything. And then we're going to jump up to the final highlight on the skin, which is Kislev Flesh, and apply this over the purple hue that we've already done. Once again, tip of nose, eyebrows, cheeks, those kind of bits, and then lightly highlight it across the bald head, tips and knuckles and fingers and stuff like that. So when you look at it, it's definitely a skin kind of Caucasian style human, but then of course you're going to see all that gnarly purple skin tone and hues showing through it, which I think make a huge difference to this model. I don't think if I did the purple hue, I would have pulled it like far enough away from what a Cadian looks like, if you know what I mean. Right now, I definitely feel like it looks like a turncoat Tyranid kind of character, and it works. Now we're going to push that a little bit further as well. We've got a couple more steps to do. First one is we're going to add in some transfers. So we're going to use traditional Cadian transfers. So Cadian symbol on the right shoulder pad, squad marking of the 707 on his left. So the 707 is of course going to be now my traitor guardsman company that has turned, been fully infiltrated. We're going to grab some corn red and just run a red gnarly X through the symbol and of course the Cadian symbol as well, which is of course defiling the iconography of the Imperial Guard, which will make any Imperial Guard player or force that faces these guys just so angry. I'd imagine there's a loyalist force of the 707 as well, maybe who reserves coming in to take their place, or the ones that didn't turn, which are especially peeved off with this whole thing. And that could be a really cool campaign with them trying to purge this Genestealer cult infiltration and try and restore the honor of their Cadian platoon or regiment. I think that'd be pretty cool. Talazar Blue was a very quick and simple contrast to throw over the vial which hangs from his icon. I added a grass tuft to the base, and I called this miniature finished. I really like how he turned out. I definitely think he works, and it'll work as a gnarly little kill team. Obviously, there's the big brood to go alongside that. Perhaps I will get one of those painted. Obviously, I will be doing one of the Leagues of Votann guys as well for a video. If you do want to see any of the other members of the Tyranids from this set painted up, I don't specifically mean more of these guys, I mean the bigger guys, do let me know. I'd be more than happy to paint something up. Check out my Tyranid playlist. I already have dozens of Tyranid videos out there, so there's probably a color scheme you could very easily adapt and use for those extra models. Here's a bunch of the still images I use for these guys. Like I said, I'm really happy with how this guy turned out, and I hope you guys are as well. Okay guys, and there we have it. One of the new Blood Brothers is now painted up and ready to go. I chose the icon bearer mainly because I really like the idea of them having an icon when the time of ascension comes and the Tyranids are getting close. Just imagine every now and again a random guardsman hefting one of these strange banners out in the middle of a parade ground, and then all the turncoats basically show themselves and start cutting down the brave guardsmen, and then the war starts from there. I think that's kind of a cool, if not grim, prospect. I really enjoyed painting this guy up. I think the Cadian symbols with the red X's through them, I think works a treat. I think the standard Cadian scheme on these models works a treat as well, so I'm very happy to see that. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a like. Ask me any question you want in the comments below, and I will get back to absolutely everybody, I do promise. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on all future uploads. And yeah, just thank you so much for watching the end of the video. I'll see you in the next one.